have added double-digit players from the transfer portal, but will a big man be a part of that?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Well, thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate you being here at Locked On Hoosiers. Listening, watching, doesn't matter. I just appreciate that you're here. We're going to talk about Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback for Indiana football this upcoming fall, and possibly being a first-round pick. Some people seem to think so. So we'll look at that a little bit later. Plus, Indiana basketball just makes it into the first bracketology from ESPN because we're still being disrespected, and I really don't know how. So we'll look at that also in a little bit. But I want to continue talking about this topic that many of you are asking about. It's the idea of Indiana bringing in a true center to the basketball team, a true big man, the 7-footer, if you will, right? Everybody's wondering, a lot of fans are asking, will the Hoosiers bring in a big guy? And look, we discussed a little bit of this yesterday about what Indiana's already done and the idea that they're probably only going to have 2 guys more being brought into this team, Luke Goody being one of them. And yes, I keep phrasing it as Luke Goody coming back because he doesn't know if he has another year of eligibility. And for Indiana's sake and for our sake and for your sake, it's easier to address Luke Goody as he's not coming back, he's not able to play anymore, and then if he gets the extra year of eligibility, awesome. That's a bonus. It would feel like an addition if he could get that waiver in that extra year. But right now, we have no idea. And then the idea, it seems to be the possibility of a young developmental piece out of the transfer portal. Unless you still have a shot at one of the best remaining centers in the transfer portal. And I don't know where Indiana's head is at fully with this. Sorry, I don't have Darren DeVries' phone number. Wish I did. But that's what I was hearing originally. But I'm addressing the centers right now because I know you want to hear it, and so do I. And I think it's a good idea with the portal slowing down a little bit, right? With Indiana trying to figure out what they want to do with their last couple of roster spots. There are still some big names out there as true centers that Indiana could go get. Could Reed Bailey be your center from Davidson? Yeah, absolutely he could. You have enough size around him to play a smaller athletic lineup if you wanted to go that route. But there are still names in the portal that Indiana could go get at the center spot if everything works out. Playing time, role, money, all of those factors are important here, so keep that in mind. So the couple of names that I want to throw at you is the one that I've been asked a ton about. It's James Scott from Louisville. And if you remember, we actually talked about him about a week or so ago when Indiana reached out to him. Indiana had a conversation with James Scott, the rising junior who was at the College of Charleston. Then he went to Louisville and had a really, really good season. 7 points, 6 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and shot it at 75% from the floor. He does not shoot threes, so don't ask. His percentage is terrible. And he averages, are you ready for this? In his career, from behind the three-point line, he averages 0.1 attempts per game. So, no, he does not shoot threes, okay? He does, however, shoot it from inside the arc and inside the paint. 75.5% from there. His free throw percentage is not great, but he didn't attempt a lot of those. 6 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Also averages nearly a block per game. Also half a steal per game. Doesn't turn the ball over. And 7 points per game. He's 6'11", 220 pounds, originally from North Carolina, and he's in the transfer portal. Now, Indiana reached out, had a conversation. There's also some news of him coming, or him going, I should say, this weekend on a visit to a big-time SEC school, a place that Indiana has been battling with pretty much the entire portal season. It was reported by some Auburn beat guys that he is going to be visiting Auburn this weekend, and Bruce Pearl will James Scott from Louisville. So we'll see how that goes. I think Auburn could use a guy like him, just kind of peeking through what they've done in the portal so far. And maybe they're willing to pay him the money that he wants. Maybe they're willing to give him the role that he wants. And not saying Indiana was or wasn't willing to do that. I just think there's a reason you haven't seen this go any further. You haven't seen this progress like we were hoping it would. I think James Scott's a really good player. And the fact that he has starting capability right now, plus he has years of eligibility remaining, that's a pretty good plus for somebody like James Scott. If you remember, this is the guy that wears the mask, right? He wears and I don't mean this in any offensive way. It looks like the Batman hockey mask. It's a black face mask on his face, and a lot of the photos you'll see, including this YouTube video, he's wearing it. And I said, why is he wearing that? I'm curious. So I did a little research, and turns out he had a facial injury where he had some teeth knocked out and had some damage done to his facial structure. I mean, literally had injuries to his face. So Louisville went to their engineering department and had them make him a custom-made face mask that he can see, breathe, and play basketball in. How cool is that? So even if he doesn't come to Indiana, the more you know. He literally had a facial injury, and they built him a custom mask in the engineering department of the at the University of Louisville, and so now he can play basketball because they were thinking he couldn't play, and now he can. So pretty cool story there. We'll see what happens with James Scott, but he is considered the best remaining center in the transfer portal. The other name that a lot of people have asked me about, and I've seen very little connection to Indiana in terms of communication or a visit or anything like that. So I'm making that clear right now, just giving you the options on what's out there in terms of a big man for the Hoosiers. Baba Miller from Florida Atlantic, not FAU, Florida Atlantic, a rising senior, just completed his junior season of college basketball, 6'11", 215 pounds, scored 11 points per game, grabbed 7 boards per game, which is solid, almost 3 assists per game as a big guy. Sure, we'll take that. And shot it at 48.5%. Listed as a forward, but plays as a center. Okay, that's what he did when he was at FAU or Florida Atlantic. Sorry. Now, he started at Florida State 22-23, didn't do a whole lot. Then he was a starter at Florida State in 23 and 24, averaged 4.5 points per game his freshman season, 7.5 points per game his sophomore season, transferred to Florida Atlantic, started every game they played, and had that 11 points and 7 rebounds stat line. Does turn the ball over a hair, is a really good shot blocker, averages nearly 2 blocked shots a game. 2 shots blocked per game in his junior season, which is incredible to look at. Almost averages a steal per game as well. And so while he's productive on the offensive side, he might be more productive and more of a menace on the defensive side is Baba Miller. And so there are still good players out there. There are still good options for Indiana if they want to go that route. I'm just telling you, I don't know if they are. I'm starting to really think that they're not going to, based off of some conversations and just kind of the general vibe here. I don't know if Indiana wants to go that route for, again, several reasons. Okay, several reasons for that. But the options are still out there if they want it. And that's the point I'm trying to make to you, make to Indiana, make to the world. Indiana could go get a center if they wanted to, but maybe they haven't for some serious reasons. Okay, so they're out there. We'll see what happens. If they do, great. If they don't, fine by me. I'm happy with what we have. Go get a developmental piece. Keep Luke Goody if you can, and go into the season and see what you can do. I think we have a good team. I think we have a good roster, and I think the hype should be legit for this Indiana squad. Joe Lunardi and ESPN, not so much. They don't think so. Their first way too early bracketology came out this week. Indiana barely in the field. We'll talk about that and why that is wrong when we come back right here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you are ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports, College Football's 2025, to Call of Duty as easily as you stream your favorite shows. What if you could jump into your favorite Xbox game right now without needing your console in every room, without having to go to the game room or go downstairs to the basement? What if you could do it right there in your living room from your recliner? I do it. I've done it. I have a Fire TV, and I didn't know that this was a thing until they came on with us. And now with the Fire TV Stick 4K, you can play your Xbox in your recliner. You don't have to take your physical console everywhere. If you're going on vacation, if you're traveling for work, you can take the Fire TV Stick 4K. That's all you got to do, and take your controller. No more cords, no more console, no more nothing. Okay. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatibility controller are required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Generation. Go to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here again, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. We're going to talk about Fernando Mendoza, Indiana's potential starting quarterback. Don't want to make any assumptions, but a potential first-round pick in the NFL draft in 2026. We'll take a look at that. But we're going to talk some bracketology, as the first one has been released by Joe Lunardi and ESPN. Coming up in just a moment. But thank you so much to everybody who was here. And I just want to say, the month of April was the best month in the history of Locked On Hoosiers, in the history of the show. And it was kind of close, but not really. I mean, April was incredible. March was the record. Then you smashed it in April. So thank you so much for all of your support and everything you've done to help this channel grow. Whether you listen on an audio platform like Spotify or Amazon or Apple or Pandora or whatever, or you watch on the YouTube side with the video versions, everything you've done has helped tremendously. So thank you so much for doing that. On the video side, you've liked the videos, you comment down below, and you subscribe to the channel. Do those things right now. It continues to help us. If you're listening on audio, best thing I can tell you to do is just turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode. So thank you for your support, and it really, really does mean the world. So Joe Lunardi, admittedly, had a way too early bracketology, and you probably reacted the same way that I did when I saw it. I said, really? Bracketology already? It was April. It was April 30 when this came out. Now it's May 1 of this episode coming out. But come on, man. We're less than a month removed from the national championship game. We really aren't doing this, are we? But I clicked on it, and I started reading through it, and I will give Joe Lunardi credit. He at least defends the fact that it is early and he is releasing a 68-team bracketology and understands that there are probably going to be some changes. But listen to what he says here. I think this is really interesting. And we're going to talk about where Indiana is, why it's too low, and the other Big Ten teams that were listed as well. But he says, we're tracking every transfer, portal maneuver, and NBA draft entry and exit in a comprehensive database of rosters. We then use those rosters to project the offensive and defensive efficiency of each team and rank every conference. The result is an updated bracketology. So I'll give him a little bit of credit. I mean, he's at least not just sitting there and scribbling in names for fun. They're supposed to be using statistics to back all this up. Now, it's still going to be very, very difficult to accurately predict it this early, because take a team like Indiana. You have a brand new roster. Not a single player on this year's team played with us last year. And none of them, only two guys actually played together, right? Terrace and Josiah Miles. And so that's it. None of these guys have played together. You don't know the cohesion. You don't know the chemistry. You don't know the style. We don't know any of that. Plus a new coach in Darren DeVries. You can't possibly predict what they're going to do accurately as of right now. Only thing you can do is crunch some numbers, see what the efficiency ratings are, and go from there. And that's what Joe Lunardi has done here. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Hoosier fans, there's going to be a lot of things in this you don't like. So just be ready for that. But good thing is there's a long time before basketball season gets into March and Selection Sunday and things like that. So hopefully a lot of this changes, okay? Top overall seed right now, according to Joe Lunardi at ESPN, is the Purdue Boilermakers. He has them being the best team in college basketball with Braden Smith coming back. They got a lot of talent over there. Matt Painter's a great coach. I just don't trust Purdue to actually be good and do something like that. That would be way too much credit for them. So we'll see. They're considered to be the top overall seed. Okay, the Big Ten as a whole, this is kind of crazy. Predicted to get 12 teams into the NCAA tournament. That's right behind the SEC at 13. I think both of those numbers are high. I think those are really, really high. You saw the SEC break the record this past year with the number of teams they got into the NCAA tournament. I'll say this, though. I think the Big Ten is going to be really good. I think the Big Ten is going to be solid. And I think the Big Ten, it was missing last year, other than Michigan State. I mean, yeah, I know Michigan made it. Michigan State made it to the Elite Eight. Michigan made it to the Sweet 16. But you were missing that true title contender. I mean, everybody and their mother knew that Michigan State was going to lose to Auburn, right? And so did Michigan, right? I mean, we all knew that that was going to happen because of how good Bruce Pearl's squad was playing. The Big Ten was missing that true title threat. Purdue could be that this year. Michigan State could be that this year. I mean, I think there are several squads who are going to be very, very good. And I think with the top tier of teams, I think that second tier of teams is going to be really, really good. And Indiana is not considered to be anywhere near that, okay? Of the 12 teams of the Big Ten that are currently, as of April 30, in this way, way, way too early bracketology, Indiana is one of the last four in, okay? We are considered a tournament team, but the last four in. Better than others. Some people say we're just going to be terrible, have a losing record, and Darren DeVries sucks. Indiana's terrible and we'll never get back to glory. Those people are idiots, in my opinion, because I think Indiana has a really talented roster. And for whatever reason, people have continued to devalue what we've done so far. They continue to overlook the hire of Darren DeVries and the additions on the coaching staff, which we're going to talk about once everything is finalized. And they continue to just brush away what Indiana has brought in through the transfer portal, including a top 15 scorer in all of college basketball last season in Lamar Wilkerson. I don't understand where the confusion is coming in here. I don't understand where the disrespect is coming from on how Indiana's not going to be at least a tournament team. And last four in does not satisfy me. Playing a play-in game in Dayton, Ohio does not satisfy me as an Indiana fan. I'm sorry, it doesn't. That's not what we're here to do. I understand it's year one and the expectations need to be limited, but that's not good enough for me. Missing the tournament was definitely not good enough, and that's why Mike Woodson got his job taken away from him. That's what you bring in Darren DeVries for, is to make up for that. And so last four in, playing a play-in game at B Marquette. Who knows if that's going to be accurate. But teams like Purdue, as I said, the number one overall seed in there, Illinois as a 7 seed out of the Big Ten, Ohio State as a 5 seed. They have USC being a 4 seed, and the jury's still out for me on USC on whether they're going to be good or not. They got Eric Musselman, who was a great coach at Arkansas, hasn't done anything at USC. They did bring in some legit dudes from the transfer portal, so we'll see there. Wisconsin is a 6 seed. And there, Indiana would be a 10 seed if they were to win. Maryland's a 10 seed in there. Who else? Michigan State's a 4 seed in the tournament right now. Michigan as a 2 seed. That's a great pick for them. Michigan, I think they're going to be really, really good again this year. UCLA as a 4 seed. Iowa as a 9 seed. So you can see just kind of sprinkled around all over the place in there. A 1 seed, 2 seeds, 5 seeds, 8 seeds, 10 seeds. I mean, the Big Ten's going to be very well represented this year. But I think Indiana is one of those dark horses in this conference where if we can beat some teams and we can start to build some momentum in Big Ten play, we could be the home wrecker of the Big Ten. We could be the ones that shock everybody with expectations at not an all-time low, but low for us anyway. we could come in and really surprise some people. And so tell me how you feel in the YouTube comments down below. Is a last four in bid good enough for you? Do you think that's where Indiana is right now? Do you think that's where the roster is right now? I want to hear from you because you can clearly hear and see I don't agree with it. I think we'll be better than that. I think Indiana's destined for a 6, 7, or 8 seed, if not better than that this year in 25 and 26. So let me know your thoughts down below. Joe Lunardi is going to update this once a month, which I think is fine as we get closer to the college basketball season. So excited to see if Indiana moves around in there. But as of right now, last four in, play-in game as a possible 10 seed in the latest bracketology. All right, coming up here on the final segment of Locked On Hoosiers, going to the football side because some people have Fernando Mendoza as a first-round draft pick. Really? We'll see what that means and who's saying that and why it could or could not happen right here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Even after payday, I ask that sometimes. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much money that I was spending on fast food and just going out to eat rather than just going to the store and buying something a little bit cheaper. Monarch Money was able to help me budget and save a lot more and just be smarter with my money. And if you've got a partner that you're trying to manage money with, that can be difficult. Those conversations can be hard. Monarch Money helps you track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress and the arguments, okay? Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for being here as we are going to the football side of things in this final segment of today's episode. And it's because I saw a headline and it got me. I clicked on it. It did. I'll admit I got not baited because it was accurate. But there are a couple of, well, let me say it this way. Now that the NFL draft is over, the immediate response is, all right, way too early. NFL mock drafts for 2026. Same way we just talked about bracketology. They do it all the time for NFL mock drafts, right? And they're trying to predict what's going to happen in the 2026 NFL draft. And I saw a headline and I clicked on it. And it was basically a mock draft that was predicting Fernando Mendoza, the potential predicted betting odds favorite to be the starting quarterback in Indiana, to be a first-round draft pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Now, this was from The Athletic, okay? This was their little mock draft. Dana Brugler, I hope I pronounced that properly. That was her mock draft for The Athletic, saying that Fernando Mendoza was going to go in the 27th overall pick in next year's NFL draft. How awesome would that be? That would be incredible. If Fernando Mendoza has a season to where he is a first-round draft pick next year, Indiana's going back to the college football playoff. Indiana's going to win some games in the college football playoff and has a chance to be a national title contender. That's what that means. I just don't know if that's what we're going to get out of Fernando Mendoza. So I started looking around, started comparing other mock drafts. I looked at 10 or 12 others, guys. That's the only one I found that had Fernando Mendoza as a first-round draft pick. Doesn't mean it can't happen. I'm just saying Dana's the only one who is predicting Fernando Mendoza to be a first-round draft pick next year. And the problem is not even necessarily on Fernando Mendoza in his skill sets, in his capabilities. It's the fact that next year's draft class is so stacked with quarterbacks. It's unbelievable. I mean, he's going to be buried behind 12 to 15 other quarterbacks in the draft. I mean, I know we just saw this draft class that had some quarterbacks taken, and I don't think the draft class was all that good, to be completely honest with you, at the quarterback position. Next year's is going to be loaded. Next year's is going to be absolutely stupid. I mean, just guys like Arch Manning are in there. I mean, and Sellers from South Carolina. I mean, those are the names we're talking about who are projected to be top 10 picks in next year's NFL draft. And so could Fernando Mendoza get there? Absolutely. Don't think I'm ready to make that prediction just yet. But if you remember the conversations we've had about Fernando and what he needs to do for Indiana in particular, what we want this season to be from him, he just has to be good. He doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to be a Heisman Trophy winner. He doesn't have to be a first-round NFL draft pick. Those would all be great things. That would all be awesome if we can make that happen. And Fernando Mendoza has that type of season. But I've continued to tell you, and I say it because I believe it to be true, he just has to be good. Don't turn the ball over, which he didn't last year. Threw for 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions when he was at Cal, a horrifically bad Cal team. But he just makes good decisions. He makes the right decisions. He moves the ball forward, moves the chains down the field, and cashes in when they get down there. That's what Cal did a year ago. Not great, but they did it good enough. And Fernando Mendoza now stepping into what will be the best receiver room he's ever played with. That's pretty cool. Best offensive line he's ever played with. Probably the best running back room. Well, I don't know. Cal had a pretty good running back room last year, and now they're all gone because Cal hired a new offensive coordinator and everybody left. But Fernando Mendoza just has to be good. Don't turn it over. Make the right plays. Get it to your playmakers. The deck is stacked around him. If he can do that, his numbers will be solid. The wins will come. And sure, somebody will probably take a chance on him in the NFL next year. I just don't think I'm ready to say, yeah, Fernando Mendoza is a first-round draft pick. Fernando Mendoza is going to have a Curtis Rourke type of season. Just don't think that's going to be the case because you just saw with Curtis Rourke where he went in the draft. And he had a really good season. Now, the injury probably scared some folks there, but him going to San Francisco, I think is going to be awesome. So we'll see what happens with Fernando Mendoza. I saw it, though, wanted to jump in on that. I didn't find a single other mock draft that had him going in the first round. If you find one, let me know. Drop it down in the comments. I'll be reading through some of those. But I think he can have a really good season and still get a shot at the NFL. I don't predict him to light it up this year in Bloomington because we don't need that from him. If he does, awesome. More power to him. And as I said, the sky will be the limit for him and what Indiana can do this season. But if you come in and be a productive quarterback and you don't turn the football over, that's what the NFL wants to see. He didn't do it a year ago at Cal. I expect him to not do it here at Indiana either. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate it and getting another month started off right here with you in the month of May. If you're listening on audio, follow us over there. Turn on those notifications. Send it to everybody you know, okay? Our audio numbers are up through the roof. We appreciate you doing that. And if you're on YouTube, like the video, hit that thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the YouTube comments down below. Tell me anything we talked about today. I want to hear from you. And then if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 5,700 subscribers, okay? So be sure you do all of those things. We are back tomorrow to wrap up the week, okay, Hoosier fans? So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.